He couldn't understand why his loyal dog refused to enter the warm shelter, choosing instead to brave freezing snowstorms. But when he finally discovered the heart-wrenching secret his dog was protecting, it changed his life and his entire town forever. This story reminds us all of the incredible courage animals show, teaching humans powerful lessons about compassion and healing. If this moved your heart, please leave a comment below and hit subscribe to join our journey of inspiring stories. The forest grew darker as clouds gathered overhead, blocking the moonlight and draping Yosemite Valley in deep shadows. Ethan Carter and Dr. Marcus Reed cautiously retraced their steps, careful not to disturb the fresh tracks they'd found earlier. Every step was deliberate, calculated, their senses heightened to the slightest sound or movement. An unsettling silence had descended, as if the very woods were holding their breath, watching intently as the men sought the hidden truth. Marcus walked quietly beside Ethan, his sharp features set in grim concentration. Known widely in academic circles for his groundbreaking studies on wildlife behavior, Marcus had always preferred solitude to crowds, the wilderness his true home. Despite his aloof exterior, Ethan knew Marcus carried the scars of losing animals he'd dedicated his life to protecting. Marcus's intense devotion stemmed from an incident years earlier, one he rarely spoke of, involving a rare species he'd failed to save from ruthless poachers. Ever since, he had relentlessly pursued wildlife protection with almost obsessive determination. Breaking the oppressive silence, Marcus whispered, "Ethan, over here." He pointed toward a spot beneath a large fir tree. Ethan knelt carefully, examining the area. Discarded cigarette butts and fresh boot marks cluttered the earth, evidence of recent human presence. Anger rose sharply within him. These poachers were brazen, confident enough to linger openly, indifferent to the consequences of their cruel trade. "We're close," Ethan murmured, his voice a tense whisper. "They're definitely scouting the area, waiting for an opportunity." Marcus nodded grimly. "This isn't their first hunt, Ethan. Everything here points to professionals. They've been here at least a few days, planning meticulously, but why here? Yosemite isn't typically their preferred hunting ground." Ethan stood, his jaw tightening as he scanned the surroundings. "Because this isn't just any hunt. They're targeting Yosemite's icons, Leonidas, Shadow, animals whose deaths would cause a stir, a trophy even among poachers. They're making a statement." Marcus's eyes narrowed thoughtfully, understanding dawning clearly across his face. And that's why Shadow reacted that way. He wasn't protecting territory or prey, he was protecting Leonidas and us from these men. Ethan's thoughts flashed briefly to Laura Grayson, the determined journalist he'd sent off with the rescue team. She'd handed him crucial evidence, risking her own safety to expose this threat. Ethan admired her courage, but also worried deeply for her safety, knowing how ruthlessly these criminals operated. As they continued examining the area, a sudden rustling nearby drew both men's attention. Ethan raised his hand in silent caution, heart pounding steadily. Emerging carefully from behind a cluster of dense bushes was a dog, a large German shepherd, its fur thick and dark, ears pricked forward alertly. It paused, sniffing the air cautiously before moving slowly toward them. Ethan recognized the dog immediately. Scout, the trusted companion of Ranger Tom Keller, one of Yosemite's most experienced patrol officers. Moments later, Tom himself stepped into view, nodding solemnly. Tom Keller was a rugged man in his late 50s, broad-shouldered and sturdy, his short-cropped hair mostly gray, now beneath his ranger's hat. He wore his authority effortlessly, respected for both his professionalism and deep kindness, qualities that made him beloved by park staff. "Scout picked up the scent and led me here," Tom explained quietly, patting the dog affectionately. Scout wagged his tail briefly, then sat obediently, eyes alert. "Good timing," Ethan said gratefully. We've just confirmed poachers' presence here. These guys are dangerous and organized. Tom's face darkened significantly, anger evident in his steady gaze. We have intel from the west gate. A suspicious van was seen loitering around nearby cabins. Locals reported seeing armed men carrying what looked like hunting equipment. Ethan cursed softly under his breath. They're bold. They're setting up right under our noses, confident we won't catch them in time. Marcus crossed his arms, thoughtful. We mustn't underestimate them. They're probably monitoring ranger activity carefully, waiting for a mistake. Tom nodded grimly. We need a plan. I've notified headquarters. They're dispatching reinforcements, but we must track these poachers immediately before they vanish again. Ethan's mind raced, considering their next move. Suddenly, Scout growled softly, hackles rising as his ears perked up sharply. Quiet, Tom whispered firmly, crouching beside the dog. Scout sniffed again, his attention fixed toward dense brush, not far from where they stood. Ethan signaled Marcus and Tom silently, carefully moving closer. Beneath the heavy foliage, barely visible in the moonlight, Ethan spotted something metallic. Another trap, hidden expertly. His breath caught painfully. It was identical to the one that had nearly killed Leonidas, and it bore signs of frequent use. They've prepared multiple traps, Ethan said urgently, his voice tight with barely contained fury. This was never about just one animal. They're planning to devastate the local predator population. Marcus knelt beside Ethan, carefully examining the trap. Ethan, look closely, he pointed, revealing something chilling, a small engraved marking, a symbol he'd encountered before. Ethan's blood ran cold. That's no ordinary poacher's signature. That's the mark of the Blackwood Syndicate. They specialize in illegal trophy hunting for high-profile clients worldwide. Tom clenched his fist tightly, clearly recognizing the infamous group. That means they're well-funded, ruthless, and far more dangerous than we imagined. Suddenly, Ethan heard faint movement again nearby. Instantly, he drew his weapon, signaling Tom and Marcus silently to remain alert. The figure that appeared was unexpected. Sarah Brennan stepped cautiously from the shadows, breathing heavily, her slender form illuminated faintly by the dim moonlight, her blue eyes wide with urgency. Sarah? What are you doing here? Ethan asked sharply, concerned for her safety. She steadied herself, clearly shaken but determined. I overheard headquarters talking. The poachers are monitoring ranger frequencies. They knew exactly where you'd be and your plans. You're being tracked right now. Ethan's pulse quickened, mind rapidly adjusting plans. We have to move fast. Sarah, can you get back safely to headquarters and alert them discreetly? She nodded bravely. Yes, I'll find a safe route. Be careful, Ethan. Go quickly, Sarah, Ethan urged softly, admiring her courage as she disappeared back into the shadows. Ethan turned urgently to Tom and Marcus. If they're tracking us, we have to turn the tables. We'll lead them away from the main group and trap them ourselves. Marcus's eyes gleamed with grim approval. Use their arrogance against them. Tom adjusted his ranger cap determinedly, Scout standing protectively by his side. Let's hunt these poachers down, Ethan. Yosemite's predators aren't trophies for the wealthy. Together they moved swiftly into the darkness, determined to confront the threat head-on. Ethan knew this fight was about more than protecting animals. It was about preserving Yosemite's spirit, a sacred trust passed down through generations. As they vanished silently among the trees, Shadow's distant howl rose hauntingly once more, echoing through the valley, a chilling promise that the forest itself would no longer remain passive in the face of violence.
The morning after the storm broke clear and crisp, sunlight filtering weakly through a thick layer of clouds, making the snowy landscape of Aspen Creek shimmer gently beneath its veil. The temperature had plummeted even further overnight, creating a harsh yet beautiful vista of sparkling ice and crystalline snowdrifts. Silence blanketed the town, disturbed only occasionally by the muffled sound of snow sliding from overloaded tree branches. Evan Tucker woke earlier than usual, his sleep restless and plagued by worry. He brewed strong coffee, savoring its warmth while staring pensively out the kitchen window. Buddy remained precisely where Evan had last seen him the night before, curled defensively in front of the doghouse. Evan felt a pang of helplessness, mixed with a rising determination. He couldn't allow his faithful friend to continue suffering through the bitter cold for reasons unknown. Pulling on his thickest winter jacket and heavy boots, Evan opened the cabin door, a gust of icy wind instantly biting his cheeks. "Buddy, come on now," he called softly, extending a hand invitingly toward his dog. Buddy's head rose sharply, his golden fur dusted with frost, eyes alert and wary. The Labrador did not move toward Evan as he normally would. Instead, he stood cautiously, his body rigid with a tension Evan had never before witnessed. "Come inside, boy," Evan coaxed again, voice gentler now, almost pleading. Buddy's response was startling and definitive. His hackles rose visibly, lips drawing back into an open snarl, a deep, resonant growl rumbling from his chest. Evan halted abruptly, shocked by the display. Buddy had never shown aggression toward him, and seeing his normally placid companion snarling left Evan stunned and hurt. "Fine," Evan muttered sadly, retreating slowly back into the cabin, his heart heavy. He leaned against the door after shutting it, feeling the ache of betrayal mingled with a deeper worry for Buddy's unusual behavior. The Labrador resumed his guarding stance, his gaze unwavering toward the doghouse entrance. Later that morning, Evan drove into town, seeking distraction and perhaps advice. He parked his old, reliable pickup truck outside of Molly's Diner, a cozy establishment popular among locals, hoping a familiar environment might ease his troubled mind. The diner buzzed gently with chatter, warm and inviting, smelling of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon. Behind the counter stood Molly Jennings, the owner, her robust frame topped by a halo of curly, graying auburn hair. Molly was a fixture in Aspen Creek, her bright laughter and hearty nature a balm for anyone who entered her diner. Her blue eyes held wisdom and compassion as she greeted Evan with a cheerful wave. "Evan Tucker, haven't seen you in here for a spell," she called warmly. Evan smiled faintly, sitting at his usual spot by the counter. "Everything all right?" Molly's intuition was famously sharp, picking up instantly on Evan's discomfort. Evan hesitated, then sighed. "It's Buddy," he confessed softly, eyes troubled. "He's acting strange, aggressive even. He won't go into his doghouse, and he's snarling at me. I'm worried." Molly nodded sympathetically, pouring Evan a fresh cup of coffee. "Dogs know things we don't, Evan," she advised gently. "Trust him. He loves you. If he's behaving oddly, he's got his reasons." Evan absorbed Molly's words quietly, still conflicted. As he nursed his coffee, the diner door chimed open again, letting in Olivia Spencer, bundled warmly against the cold, her cheeks flushed from the brisk air. Spotting Evan, she approached with a soft, comforting smile. "Morning, Evan," Olivia greeted warmly, taking the stool beside him. Evan managed a faint smile in return. Olivia's presence had a comforting effect, her calm, empathetic demeanor soothing his anxiety. "Still worried about Buddy?" she asked, immediately reading the worry lines in Evan's face. Evan nodded, relaying his recent encounter with a normally gentle dog. Olivia listened thoughtfully, her green eyes reflective yet resolute. "There's clearly something wrong," she said gently. "Animals don't suddenly change their behavior without reason. Perhaps you should step back and observe, Evan. Give Buddy space, watch his actions. Sometimes understanding requires patience." Evan's mouth tightened, though he respected Olivia's advice. The uncertainty gnawed at him. "I can't just watch him suffer in this cold," he said softly. Olivia reached out gently, briefly touching his hand reassuringly. "I'll come by later today," she promised. "Together we'll find out what's troubling Buddy." Returning home, Evan resolved to approach the issue differently. He maintained distance, observing from afar, allowing Buddy his space. Hour after hour passed as the cold deepened and the day faded to dusk. Evan prepared dinner, frequently glancing outside, troubled by the stubborn sight of Buddy guarding the doghouse with unrelenting loyalty. Shortly after sunset, headlights sliced through the darkness, illuminating his driveway briefly as Olivia arrived as promised. She stepped carefully through the snow, bundled warmly, carrying a small bag of medical supplies. Evan welcomed her quietly, thankful for her presence. Together, they stood at the window, silently observing Buddy. Olivia's trained eyes quickly picked up subtle details Evan had overlooked. The dog's defensive posture, ears continuously swiveling, eyes sharply fixed on the doghouse entrance. Something is definitely in there, Olivia whispered confidently. Evan frowned, heart tightening. I checked yesterday, he protested softly. Saw nothing. Animals hide, Olivia explained gently, her eyes sympathetic yet firm, especially wounded or frightened ones. Buddy's protecting something vulnerable, Evan. The realization settled heavily upon Evan, deepening his guilt for previously misunderstanding Buddy's intentions. Then we need to help whatever it is, he decided firmly. Olivia nodded, respecting his determination, yet urging caution. Careful, she advised quietly. Let's watch first. Buddy knows better than us right now. They moved carefully onto the porch, stepping softly to avoid disturbing the cautious Labrador. Buddy watched warily, body rigid, eyes intense, yet sensing no immediate threat, he allowed them to remain close. Together, Evan and Olivia waited silently in the biting cold, patience stretched taut as night deepened. Finally, after hours of quiet vigil, a faint rustling sound emerged from within the doghouse. Evan's breath quickened anxiously. Olivia remained calm, her trained gaze attentive. Buddy shifted slightly, clearly torn between trust and protective instinct. A small, frightened whimper pierced the stillness, clear yet faint. Evan froze, heart leaping in startled realization. Olivia immediately placed a gentle hand on Evan's arm, eyes wide with cautious excitement. Whatever's in there, she whispered urgently. It's frightened, hurt maybe. Buddy senses vulnerability. Evan nodded numbly, his previous confusion replaced with newfound respect and gratitude toward Buddy's instincts. Olivia quietly unpacked her supplies, preparing blankets and a flashlight, knowing they must approach the discovery carefully, compassionately. As Evan watched Olivia's calm, assured movements, he felt a quiet admiration building. Her strength and quiet determination offered him comfort and guidance in a situation he found profoundly unsettling. Evan realized in that moment how much he needed Olivia's steadying presence, not just for Buddy, but also to anchor himself against past loneliness. Evan's gaze returned to Buddy, the dog's fierce loyalty shining brighter in Evan's eyes than ever before. He whispered softly to his canine companion, voice warm with deepened respect. Thank you, Buddy. I'll trust you from now on. Buddy's posture relaxed slightly, ears flicking back momentarily, acknowledging Evan's renewed trust. Olivia smiled gently, encouraged by Evan's change of heart, her green eyes hopeful. Together they stepped closer, unified in purpose and trust, determined now more than ever to uncover the hidden truth guarded fiercely by the loyal dog beneath the relentless snowfall. The night air bit harshly at Evan's exposed skin as he stood silently on his cabin porch, staring pensively toward Buddy. The snowstorm had finally subsided, leaving behind a luminous, icy quiet that blanketed the sleepy town of Aspen Creek. Moonlight spilled gently across the landscape, turning the snow into shimmering silver. Yet, beneath this beautiful veneer of calm, Evan sensed something deeply troubling. Buddy remained alert, positioned steadfastly before the doghouse entrance, fur glistening with ice crystals, his body radiating quiet vigilance. Evan knew patience had reached its limit. His restless mind churned with concern. He couldn't bear another night of uncertainty and tension. Olivia's earlier words echoed in his mind. Buddy senses vulnerability. Tonight, He had to discover the truth. He fetched a plate piled generously with slices of roasted turkey, a rare treat reserved for special occasions. Approaching slowly, he knelt down, offering the savory meal toward Buddy with gentle encouragement. Buddy's eyes flickered uncertainly between Evan's face and the enticing meat. Gradually, instinctive hunger overcame caution, and Buddy edged reluctantly toward the plate, abandoning his guarded post briefly. Seizing this opportunity, Evan moved swiftly yet carefully to the doghouse entrance. He switched on his flashlight and cautiously peered inside, heart thundering against his chest. The beam illuminated the cramped space, revealing what Buddy had protected fiercely through bitter cold and tension-filled days. Nestled in the far corner lay a small dog, trembling violently. Evan drew a sharp breath at the creature's condition. The dog appeared painfully thin, her matted fur coated with frozen mud, bearing several visible wounds. She was young, probably less than a year old, her wide, frightened eyes reflecting pain and exhaustion. Evan's heart ached deeply, understanding now Buddy's fierce protectiveness. Clearly abused and abandoned, this vulnerable creature had sought shelter in the doghouse, and Buddy had instinctively become her guardian. "Easy, girl," Evan whispered soothingly, reaching out gently, slowly. The small dog whimpered, shrinking back fearfully. Evan's heart sank at the display of distrust, evidence of previous trauma. Guilt welled sharply inside him. How could he have doubted Buddy's noble instincts? Turning toward Buddy, who stood nearby, ears drooping slightly in apology, Evan spoke quietly but firmly. "You were right, my friend." "Thank you." Buddy moved closer, nudging Evan reassuringly with his large head, their bond reaffirmed stronger than ever. Carefully, Evan wrapped the terrified animal in warm blankets, carrying her inside the cabin. Buddy trotted protectively at his side, vigilant and tender. Settling the dog gently near the fireplace, Evan meticulously cleaned her wounds, speaking in soothing tones. Gradually, her trembling subsided slightly, responding to warmth and kindness. Meanwhile, in downtown Aspen Creek, Olivia Spencer's evening had taken a dramatically different turn. She stood inside the town's community hall, a brightly lit but modest gathering place where townspeople assembled regularly for meetings. Tonight, however, the mood was unwelcoming, tense, the hall filled with skeptical residents. Mayor Harold Grayson, a stern man nearing 60, tall and imposing with silver-streaked black hair and penetrating steel-gray eyes, presided over the meeting. Harold had always been cautious of outsiders, protective of the town's traditions and wary of change, making Olivia's proposal especially controversial in his eyes. Olivia, standing at the front, faced the gathered residents with determination and calm, yet beneath her composed exterior, anxiety churned. She explained clearly her vision, building a wildlife rescue and rehabilitation center to help injured and abandoned animals, enhancing local conservation efforts, and attracting positive attention to Aspen Creek. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, skeptical glances exchanged. Finally, Harold raised a questioning eyebrow, his voice stern yet measured. "Miss Spencer, we respect your expertise. However, this town thrives on livestock and ranching. Folks here worry your center could interfere with their livelihoods, create unnecessary restrictions, and encourage unwanted wildlife near their properties." Heads nodded vigorously in agreement, eyes narrowing suspiciously toward Olivia. Feeling tension rise palpably, Olivia took a deep breath, striving to remain patient and understanding. "Mayor Grayson, I respect the community's concerns deeply. My aim is coexistence. The center would educate about living responsibly with wildlife, not restrict livelihoods." Before Harold could respond, a young woman stood, her voice clear and defiant. Clara Mitchell, petite and fiery, her auburn hair tied neatly back, had always been outspoken. At 26, she ran her father's cattle ranch after his recent passing, fiercely protective of her family's legacy. "With all due respect, Miss Spencer," Clara challenged, her green eyes flashing, "you're not from around here." We know how to manage our land. Your intentions might be good, but your ideas don't match our way of life." A chorus of agreement erupted. Olivia's heart sank, feeling isolated amidst hostility. She struggled inwardly, her painful past experiences of failure and rejection in Chicago surging back strongly. Then, from near the back, a softer voice rose calmly, drawing attention. It belonged to Sarah Turner, a quiet, elderly woman respected deeply in Aspen Creek. Sarah, frail yet dignified, her silvery hair meticulously combed, had once been a beloved schoolteacher. Though retired, she still carried considerable influence, her gentle voice always advocating empathy. "Friends," Sarah began gently, commanding attention. "Change frightens us, yet sometimes fear blinds us to opportunity. Olivia wishes to help animals, something we've always valued deeply here. Perhaps instead of quick rejection, we should offer openness and conversation." Sarah's words quelled some tension, voices quieting contemplatively. Harold considered her thoughtfully, finally nodding slowly. "We'll revisit this discussion, Miss Spencer. For now, perhaps it's best we reflect further." Olivia's shoulders relaxed slightly, grateful for Sarah's timely intervention. Yet unease lingered as residents dispersed slowly, murmuring quietly. Sarah approached Olivia afterward, smiling warmly, yet knowingly. "Patience, my dear. Hearts and minds change slowly here. Prove your sincerity through actions, not words alone." Olivia nodded respectfully, deeply appreciating Sarah's encouragement. Driving home afterward through silent, snowy streets, Olivia felt drained yet determined, knowing her vision required patience and careful nurturing. At Evan's cabin, the rescued dog now rested quietly, eyes occasionally flickering open cautiously, observing Evan and Buddy. Evan prepared warm broth, carefully feeding her, reassured by her tentative acceptance. Buddy lay protectively nearby, clearly satisfied with Evan's compassionate actions. The quiet warmth inside the cabin contrasted starkly with Olivia's turbulent evening in town. Evan gently stroked Buddy's fur, quietly vowing never again to doubt his companion's intuition. As he watched the small dog sleeping softly by the firelight, Evan felt deep gratitude toward Buddy for showing him courage in trusting the unknown. As midnight passed quietly into the early hours, Evan sat contemplatively, the weight of responsibility and hope settling gently on his shoulders. The shadows of the recent days now revealed something precious and vulnerable, something worth fiercely protecting. Evan knew clearly his next steps. He would support Olivia's cause, offer his voice within the community, and heal the creature entrusted to him by fate. In the stillness beneath the stars, the gentle breathing of two loyal companions filled Evan's cabin with peace, warming his previously troubled heart. Darkness, he realized thoughtfully, sometimes hid more than fear. It concealed opportunity, redemption, and quiet, transformative acts of courage beneath its mysterious veil. The days following the rescue passed slowly in Evan Tucker's small cabin, each marked by cautious gestures and gentle patience. Winter held tight to Aspen Creek, snowstorms frequently returning with fierce determination, enveloping the small Montana town in persistent cold and blinding whiteness. The bitter temperatures mirrored the tension quietly simmering within Evan, a subtle reflection of the anxiety he battled internally as he tended to his unexpected guest. The small dog Evan had found huddled in Buddy's doghouse had been named Daisy, chosen for her fragile yet hopeful demeanor. She was thin, delicate-boned, a mix of terrier breeds with soft, wiry white fur streaked with faint patches of brown. Daisy's timid eyes, large and expressive, betrayed deep-rooted fear and mistrust, especially pronounced whenever Evan drew near. He quickly discovered that her anxiety intensified sharply around men, a heartbreaking realization which filled Evan with quiet sorrow and a renewed determination to earn her trust. Buddy, the gentle Labrador, had shifted seamlessly into the role of Daisy's protector and companion. His large frame lay patiently near her makeshift bed by the fireplace, his warm presence offering comfort to her nervous spirit. Evan watched their growing bond with quiet admiration, feeling profoundly grateful to Buddy for bridging the gap Daisy had erected around herself. Evenings in the cabin became routines of cautious interaction, Evan carefully approaching Daisy, speaking softly, offering food by hand, hoping to break through her wary defenses. The little dog would hesitate, her slender body rigid, eyes darting anxiously between Evan and Buddy. Gradually, she accepted his kindness, taking small bites and cautiously allowing him closer, yet always retreating at any sudden movements. One particularly cold evening, Evan sat near the fireplace, gently brushing Daisy's fur. Buddy rested nearby, eyes half closed contentedly. As Evan's fingers moved slowly over Daisy's trembling form, his mind wandered unbidden to painful memories from his firefighting days, memories he had long tried to bury deeply beneath layers of solitude. The vivid recollection returned sharply. A burning house on the outskirts of Billings, flames roaring like an angry beast, engulfing the wooden structure with merciless ferocity. Evan had rushed inside, adrenaline pumping furiously through his veins, driven by urgency and instinct. Amidst the thick smoke and deafening roar of the flames, he had found a family's beloved border collie, frightened, trapped beneath a fallen beam, whimpering desperately. Evan remembered vividly his frantic attempts to free the dog, his gloved hands slipping, gripping, slipping again, heart pounding as precious seconds ticked relentlessly by. Ultimately, the flames and smoke drove him back, powerless, forced to abandon the terrified animal to its fate. The failure haunted him persistently afterward, surfacing now with painful intensity as he cared for Daisy. Shaking himself from the reverie, Evan gazed softly at Daisy, whose wide eyes watched him warily, yet quietly from beneath the firelight's glow. He spoke gently, voice barely above a whisper. "I promise, Daisy, you're safe now. No harm will come to you here." In town, Olivia Spencer struggled similarly against different but equally challenging obstacles. Despite Sarah Turner's calming intervention at the recent community meeting, skepticism persisted strongly among Aspen Creek's residents. Olivia's proposal for a wildlife rehabilitation center remained controversial, a threat to the familiar ways of a conservative ranching community. Determined to demonstrate her sincerity, Olivia dedicated each day to quietly aiding injured wildlife, hoping her actions would speak louder than mere words. One particularly bitter afternoon, Olivia received a call from Margaret Shaw, an elderly widow living just outside town. Margaret was thin, stooped by age, but possessing lively eyes and an indomitable spirit. Known for her warmth and straightforward wisdom, Margaret's trust and respect meant a great deal in the small community. "I have a wounded owl in my barn, Olivia," Margaret explained on the phone, voice gentle but worried. "The poor creature seems to be suffering badly. I'm not strong enough to care for it myself." Olivia responded swiftly, gathering supplies and driving carefully through the snow-packed roads. Upon arrival, she found Margaret anxiously pacing the barn entrance, wrapped tightly in an oversized shawl, white hair fluttering gently in the cold breeze. Inside the dimly lit barn, Olivia discovered the owl, magnificent yet clearly injured. Its feathers were matted with blood, wings held at awkward angles, breathing rapid and shallow. Olivia approached slowly, methodically calming the bird with gentle murmurs before expertly handling its wounds. Margaret watched silently, deeply impressed by Olivia's calm confidence and genuine care. Once the owl's injuries were stabilized, Margaret finally spoke softly, her voice warm and sincere. "You have a gift, Olivia. The town will see that eventually. They just need a little more proof." Olivia nodded gratefully, heartened by Margaret's faith. Yet, lingering doubts from others continued to shadow her thoughts as she carefully transported the owl back to her clinic. Meanwhile, back at Evan's cabin, the bond between him and Daisy strengthened incrementally. Late one evening, as wind whistled eerily around the cabin, Evan heard a hesitant scratching sound against his bedroom door. Opening it slowly, He was astonished and deeply moved to find Daisy standing cautiously in the doorway, eyes hopeful yet guarded. Buddy watched approvingly from behind her, tail wagging softly. "Come here, Daisy," Evan whispered gently, kneeling down, extending his hand slowly, patiently. Daisy hesitated, body trembling, eyes wide with lingering fear. Finally, summoning courage, she took careful steps forward, nose tentatively nudging Evan's fingertips. Tears unexpectedly blurred Evan's vision, heart swelling with relief and quiet triumph. "You're safe now," he whispered again, this time sensing Daisy's gradual acceptance. The little dog curled near him, finally surrendering to the warmth of trust. Buddy moved closer, lying protectively nearby, his steady presence anchoring Daisy's newfound security. As Evan gently stroked Daisy's fur, the weight of past regrets seemed lighter now, the painful memory of the border collie softened by his quiet success with Daisy. Hope flickered gently within him, illuminating shadows long held within his heart. At Olivia's small clinic in town, the owl rested quietly, recovering under Olivia's careful watch. Margaret visited daily, her steadfast support becoming invaluable. Word spread slowly, but positively, curiosity building gradually among Aspen Creek's residents regarding Olivia's compassionate actions, subtly shifting the community's skeptical attitudes. Yet challenges remained significant, and Olivia knew her battle was far from won. Reflecting quietly after a tiring day, she recognized the parallels between her struggles and Evan's quiet courage. They both fought to heal deep wounds, physical and emotional, through compassion and patience. As Evan drifted towards sleep that night, Buddy and Daisy resting peacefully nearby, he felt renewed gratitude toward Olivia's quiet determination and Daisy's courage. The fragile trust Daisy granted him reminded Evan that redemption was possible, even from painful memories deeply buried. Outside, the wind howled fiercely, battering the cabin walls, but inside, warmth and peace prevailed. Evan knew clearly now, Daisy's rescue was healing him as much as he healed her, transforming regret into gentle acceptance, one careful step at a time. Winter intensified its grip on Aspen Creek, cloaking the town in relentless cold, its merciless fingers of ice and snow gripping every surface. The sky, perpetually gray, seemed to press downward, suffocating and oppressive. Within Evan Tucker's modest cabin, warmth and tension coexisted uneasily. Daisy's health, delicate and frail from prolonged neglect, had taken a sudden turn for the worse. Her breathing was ragged, eyes dull, and appetite dangerously waning. Evan felt helpless, anxiety tightening its hold on him as each day passed. Buddy, always intuitive, stayed particularly close to Daisy, gently nuzzling her, as if his affection alone could sustain her fading strength. Evan watched their bond deepen with quiet admiration, his heart aching at Daisy's deterioration. Realizing Daisy needed urgent medical attention, Evan reluctantly picked up his phone and called Olivia Spencer, seeking her help once more. Olivia arrived quickly, bundled tightly against the biting wind. Concern etched deeply in her features as she entered the cabin, her soft green eyes swiftly assessing Daisy's worsening condition. Her normally calm demeanor revealed subtle tension, an urgency Evan rarely observed. "It's bad, isn't it?" Evan's voice trembled slightly, betraying his fear. Olivia nodded solemnly, examining Daisy closely, gently handling her fragile limbs. "She needs immediate care, antibiotics, hydration," Olivia explained softly, carefully injecting medication. "Evan, we have to do everything we can quickly." As they spoke, a loud knock echoed suddenly at the cabin door, forceful and intrusive. Evan felt an immediate chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Opening the door cautiously, his stomach twisted upon seeing Jared Hawks standing arrogantly on the threshold. Jared Hawks was tall and imposing, late 40s, his cold blue eyes penetrating beneath thick brows. He wore an expensive fur-lined coat, that matched his refined yet ruthless aura. Known throughout the region for his considerable wealth, Jared's reputation for cruelty, especially toward animals, shadowed him wherever he went. Evan's past encounters with Jared had always left him uneasy. The man's cold confidence unnerved him deeply. "Evening, Tucker," Jared drawled coolly, stepping boldly into the cabin without invitation. Evan stiffened instinctively, feeling a rush of protective anger rising sharply within him. Jared's gaze landed immediately on Daisy, his mouth twisting cruelly. "There you are," Jared sneered softly. "I've been looking everywhere for this worthless animal." "She's sick, Jared. She needs proper care," Evan responded, attempting calm, though his voice quivered slightly. Jared chuckled dismissively, moving closer with deliberate menace. "It's mine, Tucker. Bought and paid for. A good-for-nothing hunting dog. I don't appreciate you harboring my property." Olivia, quietly defiant, stepped protectively between Jared and Daisy, her voice firm. "This animal has been severely neglected, Jared. She requires immediate veterinary attention. Legally, neglect is punishable." Jared regarded Olivia mockingly, eyes narrowed contemptuously. "Careful, Miss Spencer. You're new here. You might not understand how things work in Aspen Creek." Evan's mind raced, realizing he faced a grave decision. To hand Daisy back meant condemning her to more cruelty, possibly death. Refusing Jared risked not only legal consequences, but potential harm from a man known to exact revenge mercilessly. "Leave, Jared." Evan finally spoke firmly, voice filled with newfound resolve. "You're not getting this dog back. If you disagree, call the sheriff." Jared's expression darkened dangerously, fury simmering beneath his carefully composed surface. "You'll regret this, Tucker," he hissed coldly, turning swiftly to exit. "You both will." The heavy silence following Jared's departure hung thickly between Evan and Olivia, tension palpable. Yet Evan's determination solidified steadily. He turned toward Olivia, his eyes clear yet troubled. "We've made an enemy," Evan murmured softly. Olivia nodded silently, her expression thoughtful yet unwavering. "We have to protect her," Olivia affirmed quietly. "Whatever comes next, Evan, we'll face together." Later that evening, Evan and Olivia worked side by side, carefully treating Daisy, their quiet cooperation building silent bonds of trust and mutual respect. Outside, a fierce wind battered the cabin mercilessly, as if echoing Jared's lingering threat. Inside, however, determination overcame fear. Across town, Sheriff Henry Caldwell sat wearily behind his cluttered desk. Henry was a middle-aged man, stocky yet strong, his short-cropped dark hair now liberally peppered with silver. His face bore deep creases earned through decades of stress, tempered by wisdom and fairness. Henry was respected for his unwavering integrity, yet deeply aware of Jared Hawk's corrupt influence in Aspen Creek. The office door swung open abruptly, revealing Jared's angry form. Henry suppressed a sigh, bracing himself. "You need to deal with Tucker immediately," Jared snapped harshly, looming over the sheriff's desk. "He stole my dog, refused to return it. That's theft." Henry regarded Jared evenly, patiently hiding his distaste. "Did you provide proper care for the animal, Jared? The law also protects animals from abuse." Jared's jaw tightened, fury visible in his narrowed gaze. "You're making a mistake, Henry. Tucker's nobody. That new vet is causing trouble too. They're stirring up nonsense. Everyone deserves a fair hearing, Jared," Henry responded calmly. Jared stormed out without another word, slamming the door angrily behind him, the echo resonating loudly. Henry leaned back, feeling troubled, knowing Jared's threats were never empty. Days passed slowly, anxiety growing steadily for Evan. Yet he refused to waver, drawing strength from Olivia's unwavering support and Daisy's gradually improving condition. Their collective determination slowly became known throughout town, whispered cautiously by residents previously hesitant to oppose Jared openly. Margaret Shaw visited the cabin regularly, providing encouragement and occasional meals, her quiet bravery bolstering their resolve. Even Clara Mitchell, previously vocal against Olivia's plans, began quietly showing subtle support, recognizing Jared's cruelty crossed unacceptable lines. Finally, Sheriff Caldwell himself arrived unannounced at Evan's cabin late one snowy evening, his expression weary yet resolute. "Evan, Olivia," Henry began gently, removing his hat politely. "Officially, I must investigate Jared's complaint. However, unofficially, I want to help. Daisy's clearly been mistreated, but Jared won't stop easily. Prepare yourselves carefully." Evan nodded gratefully, understanding fully the risks involved. "Thank you, Henry. Daisy deserves better." Henry offered a brief, reassuring smile. "We'll get through this, Evan. Justice finds its way even here." That night, Evan reflected deeply, knowing clearly the choice he had made would shape his future profoundly. The stakes felt unbearably high, yet his heart held no regrets. Protecting Daisy, standing up to Jared's cruelty, felt undeniably right, necessary. Beside him, Daisy rested peacefully, her breathing steady, condition gradually stabilizing through their dedicated care. Buddy lay quietly nearby, his calm presence reassuring Evan profoundly. Underneath the relentless winter sky, Evan realized this breaking point beneath bitter cold had transformed into clarity, courage forged solidly from love and justice. The future remained uncertain, yet Evan knew, together with Olivia, Buddy, and Daisy, he possessed the strength needed to face whatever darkness might still loom ahead. The harsh Montana winter gradually yielded, its grip softening as daylight stretched gently across Aspen Creek, painting the landscape in delicate shades of pink and gold. Snowdrifts still glittered, but the bitter chill had begun to relent, signaling a slow thaw. Within Evan Tucker's modest cabin, a similar thaw was underway, one that reached far deeper than the changing season outside. Daisy's health steadily improved under Olivia Spencer's meticulous care. The little dog, once trembling and fearful, now walked confidently through Evan's cabin, her delicate paws trotting cheerfully alongside Buddy's larger strides. Buddy, the loyal Labrador, had taken to Daisy with unwavering devotion, his calm strength a constant reassurance to her. They had become inseparable, their bond clear and heartwarming, healing not only Daisy's physical wounds, but also the emotional scars Evan had carried since his days as a firefighter. Despite this positive transformation inside the cabin, tensions outside simmered quietly beneath Aspen Creek's surface. Jared Hawks had not forgotten Evan's defiance, nor had the townspeople forgotten Jared's cruelty. Conversations spread rapidly through town, discreetly whispered at Molly's diner, openly debated in the hardware store, and thoughtfully pondered in homes around kitchen tables. Slowly but surely, the tide of public opinion began shifting, growing steadily in support of Evan and Olivia. It was Sarah Turner who sparked the decisive turning point. One crisp, clear morning, Sarah entered Molly's diner, bundled warmly in her usual wool coat, a scarf neatly tucked around her frail shoulders. Her silver hair gleamed softly beneath the warm lighting as she approached the gathering of familiar faces. Sarah's quiet voice, always respected, carried easily across the diner, silencing conversations instantly. "Friends, it's time we took a clear stand," she declared softly but firmly, eyes bright with conviction. "We've tolerated cruelty too long simply because it comes from power and money. Olivia and Evan are fighting to protect the helpless. Surely, we owe it to ourselves to support them." A murmur of agreement rose gently, growing louder as Molly Jennings stepped forward, nodding approvingly. "Sarah's right. Jared Hawks has always bullied this town. Maybe it's time we stop being afraid of him." Even Clara Mitchell, previously cautious about Olivia's intentions, stood from her table, her auburn hair pulled tightly back, eyes shining with determination. "I run cattle, and yes, I worry about wildlife near my ranch. But what Jared did to that dog, and how he acts toward people, is wrong. We need to show Evan and Olivia they're not alone." Word traveled quickly. Within days, Sheriff Henry Caldwell formally declined Jared's complaint, openly citing animal cruelty. Emboldened, more townspeople spoke out, publicly criticizing Jared, a wave of unexpected courage rising swiftly through Aspen Creek. Encouraged by this overwhelming support, Evan and Olivia solidified their resolve. Olivia, her gentle strength unwavering, submitted a detailed proposal to the town council for the Wildlife Rescue Center. Mayor Harold Grayson, usually cautious, publicly voiced his support, bolstered by the clear sentiment of his constituents. Jared Hawks, furious and humiliated, eventually withdrew to his secluded estate, his influence diminished significantly. The community's newfound unity served as an undeniable shield against his lingering resentment. Months passed, and as spring crept quietly into the valley, the town gathered excitedly for the groundbreaking ceremony of Aspen Creek Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation Center. Olivia stood beside Evan, Buddy, and Daisy at their feet, facing a crowd filled with hopeful faces. People once skeptical, now genuinely enthusiastic about the center's potential. Olivia's voice trembled slightly with emotion as she addressed the assembled residents. "When I arrived here, I brought a dream I feared might remain just that, a dream. But your support has transformed it into reality. Together, we'll protect and cherish this beautiful valley and its creatures." Applause erupted warmly, echoing gently against the mountains. Evan glanced toward Olivia, grateful for her courage, then down at Daisy and Buddy, symbols of resilience and healing. Evan understood deeply now that bravery lay in facing one's past, in choosing kindness over fear. Following the ceremony, Margaret Shaw approached Evan, her eyes sparkling warmly. "Your Mary would have been proud," she whispered gently, squeezing his hand. Evan smiled softly, nodding with gratitude, finally feeling peace in accepting that his late wife's spirit lived in acts of compassion and courage. Aspen Creek blossomed gradually alongside spring. Olivia worked tirelessly, her dedication inspiring many townspeople to volunteer at the new center. Clara Mitchell regularly brought injured wildlife found near her ranch, becoming an unexpected advocate for coexistence. Sarah Turner organized educational visits for local schools, gently teaching the next generation respect and empathy for animals. Evan's cabin became a frequent gathering place, warmth and laughter filling rooms once shadowed by grief. Daisy flourished, playful and confident, her eyes bright with life. Buddy remained her gentle protector, their companionship symbolic of the healing possible through patient kindness. One mild evening, as twilight painted the valley with gentle lavender hues, Evan and Olivia sat quietly on his porch. Daisy curled warmly at Olivia's feet. Buddy stretched comfortably beside Evan. Silence enveloped them peacefully, broken only occasionally by distant bird calls. "Did you ever imagine this?" Olivia asked softly, her eyes reflecting quiet happiness. Evan smiled thoughtfully, shaking his head gently. "Never. After Mary passed, I believe solitude was all that remained. Buddy and Daisy changed everything." Olivia nodded gently, her gaze affectionate as she stroked Daisy's fur softly. "And the town changed too. You showed them courage, Evan. They followed your lead." Evan considered her words carefully, finally understanding their deeper truth. "Maybe we all change together. Bravery's easier shared." Olivia's quiet laughter echoed softly, warm and sincere. "You're right. Maybe bravery isn't about being fearless. It's facing our fears, anyway." The evening darkened gently around them, stars emerging quietly overhead. Evan felt profound gratitude for Olivia's friendship, for Buddy's unwavering loyalty, and Daisy's courageous spirit. He realized deeply, clearly, that courage was a quiet, persistent thing, rooted deeply in kindness and love. In Aspen Creek, beneath the soft glow of emerging stars, a unique family had formed, bound not by blood but by compassion, trust, and quiet strength. Evan's once solitary heart felt open now, embracing both community and friendship. Olivia found purpose renewed, her past wounds healing steadily through meaningful work and connections. Buddy lifted his head briefly, gazing contentedly toward Evan, eyes reflecting gentle wisdom. Evan smiled warmly, understanding clearly that his loyal companion had guided him through darkness toward light. As night settled gently, Daisy curled closer, Buddy sighed contentedly, and Evan felt peace settling deeply within his heart. Transformation had come quietly, gently beneath snow and shadow, revealing courage and healing hidden beneath Aspen Creek's wintry surface. Together, they would face whatever came next, strengthened immeasurably by bonds forged through struggle and compassion. Beneath Montana's vast, peaceful sky, the snow melted softly, revealing new beginnings waiting patiently below, a quiet promise that healing and hope always emerged, eventually, from even the coldest winter. The greatest courage often lies not in grand acts, but in quiet moments of kindness and compassion. Evan learned that facing our past fears with an open heart can transform both ourselves and those around us. Just like Buddy and Daisy taught us, sometimes the smallest creatures have the biggest lessons to offer. Remember to cherish every life, show kindness even when it's hard, and trust that compassion will always overcome cruelty. If this story touched your heart, please share it with others. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. May God bless and protect each of you and your loved ones. If you believe kindness can change the world, comment amen.